you noticed when you use the words depressed or anxious or frustrated that people's eyes just glaze over? I've noticed that also, and I was giving some thought as to why that might be. And I think the reason is because those words are overused, overplayed, and often misunderstood. I'm a psychologist of 33 years, and I've noticed that when people say these things, they're not getting the attention or the questions that they really ought to get. And I think, as I said, it's because we just hear those words all the time and they're just not carrying the same meaning they used to. And it's really important that we understand what depression really is. And you may or may not know this. True clinical depression means you can't get out of bed. It means you have no motivation. It means you're probably wanting to sleep all the time. The things that used to bring you joy don't. Maybe you're having a ton of trouble concentrating. That's true clinical depression, and it really needs some assistance from a mental health professional. Frustration's another story, and we'll talk about that on another episode. But with regard to depression, that's a big deal. So sometimes we'll say, geez, I'm so depressed, but that's not exactly what we mean. You may get more of what you're looking for when you're talking to a friend or a coworker or somebody if you use different words to explain what it is you're feeling. And I think it is so important to pay attention to the words we choose because they convey what we're feeling. And if we're not super specific, the other person's left not sure what you're saying or how to help you. And then you leave the conversation feeling invalidated or misunderstood or not heard. And those things tend to perpetuate themselves in lots of other ways. But that's another show too. So here are some words I would like you to consider to help describe what you're feeling if it isn't true clinical depression, in which case you might want to see someone because that can be a big deal. Dysthymia. Dysthymia is a word that describes a feeling of despondency and just kind of an overall feeling of blah. It's a bigger version of the blues. Another word is melancholia. Melancholia is a little bit of an older word, and it refers to a feeling of gloom, low-spirited, just kind of an overall pervasive sadness, but not a heavy depression. Then we have the word wretched. That's a strong word, and wretched refers to just sort of an unfortunate condition, just sort of a really bad experience of things, temporary, but really bad. So if something is wretched, then it's short-term, but bad. And the last word that might help to describe what you're feeling, that's a different word than depression, is this really cool word called ennui. It's a French word that refers to sort of an utter weariness and a discontent, a lack of feeling even remotely happy, and it usually stems from boredom. So if you're experiencing ennui, that too is short-term and much more in your control than a dysthymia or a melancholia. So wretchedness and ennui tends to be a little bit more short-term. So next time you're talking to someone, it may apply to you or not when you have this experience. If you're not getting the response you want from people, maybe try a different word. Thanks so much, and I really appreciate you tuning into Dr. J. Lo Knows.